right, Ella, and for more, we welcome in a guy who obviously loves Halloween, as you can see by his background, Tim Legler. And he also loves breaking down matchups, and you have been beating this drum for the last couple days. The Lakers cannot get into another game where over half the shots they take are three-pointers. So how do you see them adjusting in that regard tonight, Legs?
Yeah, Hannah, look, we know that the standards by which a good shot is determined have changed in the NBA. We know that. What was considered a good three-point attempt when I played is a lot different than now. Having said that, I think some of the role players for the Lakers have been lulled into a sense of security because they've got LeBron and AD on their side, so that some of these early quick threes they're taking, they believe are still pretty good shots. The problem is they're not playing to the strengths of their team. I think you're going to see tonight more cutting off the ball, more determined to get the ball back in the hands of their two best players later in the clock so that they can attack in the paint. LeBron and AD in the paint, at the glass, at the free throw line. That is where they have a major advantage in this series. And I think you're going to see that adjustment because I'm certain when Frank Vogel and this team took a look at the game film yesterday, it was glaring to them how quick and easy those three-pointers were coming, and that's playing right into the hands of what Eric Spoelstra is hoping because he's playing the numbers game. And the numbers say over a period of time, the Lakers' three-point shooters are going to come back to earth, and they're going to be mediocre at best. Therefore, take advantage of where you're at your best, which is LeBron and AD in the paint. Both of those guys are going to be much more aggressive.
Yeah, good point about them being quick. I think something like 10 of those three-pointers were less than 10 seconds into the shot clock. So there's something else you've been preaching, and that is for Jimmy Butler to be aggressive offensively, 40-point triple-double. But he said, you know what, it's not about the numbers. I'll do whatever it takes to get the win. So when you look at the big picture here tonight in Game 4, what specifically are they going to need from Butler to even up this series?
Well, I tell you, he says it's not about the numbers, but there are two numbers to me that jump out, and it's not the 40 points or the 13 assists. The two numbers that jump out to me off of that stat sheet are 20 field goal attempts and 14 free throw attempts, because that tells you he's in the right mindset, which is I'm the one guy on this team right now that can go get a shot against any of the matchups that I see in front of me, and I can play at a high rate of efficiency. Look, he might not shoot 14 for 20, and he's probably not going to get 40 points, but the pressure he's going to put on the Lakers to react to him, that's what's most important. And he did that in Game 3, and I thought he was too much of a facilitator, thinking too much about making plays for people and letting the game come to him in those first two games. He took it to them in Game 3, and he's just making the right reads. He has the ability to be this aggressive offensively. And Hannah, to put it in context, think about this. He only took 5 fewer shots than LeBron and AD combined, and he took more free throws than those two guys combined. That's how aggressive he was, and that's going to make the game easier for other people. I hope for Miami Heat's sake, he stays in that same aggressive mindset as a scorer in this game and set the tone for his team early.
Yeah, you hope he stays there, even if Bam comes back, that doesn't change that dynamic too much. And Jimmy Butler playing 45 of 48 minutes each of the last two games. I love the bats. I love the pumpkin. I love the ghost. You're the best. You're the best, Tim Legler.
Pretty much the same, coming off a win for me. So the series is completed. I kind of stay on edge, stay locked in on the job at hand. And I've seen no one wants to ever lose. You hate that feeling, especially when you know you didn't play your best. And I definitely wasn't at my best last night from an individual standpoint. So I take that responsibility, and I take that with a lot of passion and understanding of how I can much better, in the following game. But throughout the postseason, I'll stay even keeled. As I've grown in this game and I've grown over the years, I kind of stay even keeled, understanding that there's always another opportunity to get better, and we have that opportunity today and also tomorrow night in the game.
Kyle?
I have an off-court question. When you think of all you have going on, you're wearing a more than a vote shirt right now. In terms of trying to influence change, thinking back 8 years ago when you wore those hoodies as a statement about Trayvon Martin, what are the biggest things you've learned about impacting change off the court? And is there advice you, in this moment now, would have given yourself 8 years ago when you kind of started this journey?
That you can't get caught up in what everybody else think, because everyone's not going to always agree with your movement. Everyone's not going to agree with your words. Everyone's not going to agree with your passion. Everyone's not going to always agree with why you're doing it, things of that nature. But if you're true to it, it hits home and it hits the heart, then it shouldn't matter. And it doesn't, because you have the knowledge, you have the passion, you have the support to be able to shed light on situations that you feel are either unjust or wrong. And there's a thing called common sense, and you know the difference between right and wrong. It's something I always grew up on. My mother always, told me, being able to understand the difference between right and wrong and noticing it and being able to, have the feeling. So, to sit back and think, 8 years ago when we sat in Detroit in the ballroom, as a part of the Miami Heat team, and we all decided to put our hoodies on in a reflection and a remembrance of Trayvon Martin and that tragic incident. We knew that it was going to be uncomfortable to a lot of people, but we didn't care because we understood how much it hit home for us and a lot of our guys having sons of their own, and could imagine if our kid was to leave home and not return. So I think that's what it boils down to.
Last three questions here. Gary?
LeBron, in terms of talking to opponents on the floor, are you a guy who just responds to trash talk? You initiate it, and as your status has moved up in the league, has it changed? Have different players said different things, or do they not want to talk to you because they don't want to get going? How does that kind of equation go?
No, I've always been a guy that kind of lets game do the talking. But when guys get talking, I can do that as well. But I've always tried to let my game do the talking. It's some guys are, like to talk their way through the basketball game. It helps them out personally. There's always communication going on the floor. For me personally, as long as they don't get disrespectful, I'm fine with it. But I've never really started up a trash talking dialogue. That's just not me. I believe, the way I play the game is enough trash talking in itself.
Dan?
LeBron, from just like a strategy standpoint, Bam's a type of big who is obviously a really great playmaker, but he doesn't space the floor so much with his shooting. The guys that Miami's played at the position now, Myers and Olynyk, both do. How different does that force you guys to be defensively? You talked probably about watching those defensive breakdowns last night. I imagine spacing had something to do with a couple of them.
I think it all boils down to no matter who's in the line for those guys, they're a great team. And it's just that simple. And they're going to put you in positions that may feel uncomfortable, that will be uncomfortable throughout the course of 48 minutes, and we have to be able to adjust. There's things that Myers and Kelly does that Bam does do, but we all can also understand there's things that Bam does that not too many guys in this league can do. So they create different challenges depending on who's out on the floor, but when there's 5 guys on the floor for the Miami Heat, they're going to play how they play. They're going to move the ball, they're going to move with pace, they're going to share the ball. They got guys that can get into the paint, they got guys that can shoot threes, they got guys that command double teams and things of that nature. So it doesn't matter who's out on the floor for them. They're going to be playing at a high level because they're that's just the way they are, and they're extremely well coached from top to bottom.
Last two questions, one here and then one on Zoom. So, Tim?
Bron, you've always prided yourself on playing the right way, but you still have those moments like the fourth quarter against Denver in the closeout game. You're like, this is going to end now, and you go to that place. Jimmy parallels you in that regard, in that he doesn't want to have the ball in his hands every possession. He wants to get other guys involved. And then you saw last night what he ends up doing. Are you in that space yet where you think you might have to go that tack to close this thing out and go to that fourth quarter Bron against Denver mode like we've seen so many times from you in the past, or are you not there yet?
I've never predetermined my game plan. throughout my whole career. I've never went to a game saying, okay, I need to score 40 tonight. I need to dominate in the scoring facet, things of that nature. I need to make big shots. I've never predetermined my game throughout my whole life. I've never done that. The one thing I've always been prepared. And if prepared, then whatever the game, however the course happened, you're able to make adjustments throughout the game. You're able to impact the game because you're prepared and you've put in the work. It's just that simple for me. Anytime I've ever, thought about, okay, I'm gonna go out and try to do this, then it doesn't happen that way. The game has too many things that can happen throughout the course of the game and throughout the course of a quarter, or possessions here and possessions there, where you could try to plan for it, but audibles happen in football sense. So the best thing I can tell you is that I'm always prepared, and I know that I've put in the work. So I trust that.
Will, your last question on Zoom, please.
All right, yeah, last one for me, Mark Stein.
Hey, LeBron, I was curious, early in the pandemic, you mentioned that your body was kind of in shock, that you were rounding towards third base for the playoffs, and then you had to stop. All these months later, how would you say your body has responded to all that?
I'm in great shape. I bounced back extremely well in between games, and I could play right now if we had to play right now at a high level.